Yo, what's going on, guys? And today, of course, we got to do the Golden State Warriors off-season preview. So the Golden State Warriors went 37-45. They have two picks in this year's draft, the 11th and the 54th. They actually have a 2% shot at getting the number one pick. Will they end up like the Atlanta Hawks and luck into a top pick? Before we continue today's video, I want to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. What do you guys expect and why? Look, I kept saying it. No offense, Warriors fans, but since Jimmy Butler's injury and then when Curry missed all this time, I kept saying, I think it's in their best interest not to make the playoffs. And then they got stuck in the play-in. And again, from entertainment-wise, I think the Suns would have a more competitive roster to go against the Thunder. And secondary, I think giving the older guys on this roster an extended break, a longer than usual offseason, while also getting yourself a lottery pick, regardless of where it lands, top 10 or at the back end of the lottery where it is right now, I think is great. Yes, if they had gotten into the playoffs, I believe they would have been like the 15th or 16th pick. But being a few slots up, just in that lottery, gives you a bit more of an actual trade chip than if you had the 20th pick or 16th pick in this case, okay? And I think having that asset is huge for the Warriors, regardless if they don't trade it and they draft a player like Yaxel Lindenberg or Hans Steinbach. I've said Adai, but you guys have said the latter two or more who you guys would want. And that's because, first off, Draymond Green has a player option of $27.7 million. And normally you would believe that a player of Draymond Green's caliber, even though he's not worth $27 million anymore, he would typically accept that player option and take it because that's the last time he's going to get paid $27 million. And that's more than likely what is going to be the case. But if Draymond Green wants to be a good Samaritan and a team player, especially in his end of his career, he would opt out of he would decline his player option, and then he would go ahead and sign a new deal, either just a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal on a lower cap hit, because he'd be like, look, I want to stay with the team, and I acknowledge that his contract is a bit rich for my age and production, even though he's still producing at a decent level. One could argue if you can convince him to give up $27 million and take maybe 15 and leave 12 on the table, that's going to help you out a lot. Why? Because now you are being able to maybe circumvent the salary cap, and it'll help you bring back Kristaps Porzingis and maybe not need to go over the cap, even though you can with Kristaps, because he has you got his bird rights, which allows you to go over the cap. I think DeAnthony Milton, because he's played well, unless he hears otherwise, he would decline the player option and see if he can get a bit more money either on a 1-year deal or get a multi-year deal. They have Gary Payton II as an unrestricted free agent, but they have his bird rights. I think he'll come back. Pat Spencer, restricted free agent. He'll come back. Quinn Post, restricted free agent, early bird rights. They'll re-sign him long-term. Both of those guys will get long-term deals. Al Horford has a $6 million player option. He'll pick that up, and I think that'll be his final season. Seth Curry, unrestricted non-bird. I think they'll bring back Seth Curry. I know some people are going to be like, it wasn't a great year, and health-wise, I think everybody was affected. I could also see that Seth just retires because he had sciatica as one of the issues. He did shoot 48% in 10 games. He played 68 games the year before for Charlotte. And then the year prior, he had played only 44 games between Charlotte and Dallas. So I wonder if his career could be coming to an end due to the physical ailments, and that they just did this year to give Curry, his brother, on the team. I actually like Charles Bassey. He's probably just going to go keep playing for teams. They have Nate Williams as well, but no team, I think, has as many questions and decisions as the Golden State Warriors do. Thank God it's not two timelines. Like, their two timelines was such a detriment, in my opinion, to the construction of the roster because it handicapped them from fully going all in. And for the second time in 3 seasons, Golden State has landed in the lottery. The Warriors have been a play-in team 3 out of 4 years since their 2022 championship and finished no higher than 7th in the Western Conference for 3 straight seasons. Missing the playoffs stems mostly from injuries, specifically the season ending to Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry playing his fewest games since 2019-20. The championship window is closing rapidly if this roster cannot stay healthy. Like, if they bring back everybody on this roster, Kristaps Porzingis on a cheaper deal, and everybody gets brought back, especially if they can convince Draymond to do what I said and take a discounted deal, declining his player option, they create cap space. Bring back the whole team. Jimmy comes back, Kristaps comes back. You either draft someone or you trade for someone, and maybe you add a shooting guard, like a starting level. I know they don't want to pay Malik Monk the money that Malik's making, which, like, it's only like 18-20, but that's the type of guy, or a guy of like that caliber, even like a Colin Sexton, Kobe White type of guy would be great for this team. And I think this squad is fully aware that they need their depth because Butler is going to be coming from an ACL injury. Curry was hurt. Draymond every year has like little injuries that make him miss a combination of time. So to me, I think the most interesting thing about all of this is that they have effective players. They can, win games. Like, it's not like they're an old bad team. For me, the most interesting part of all this, the uncertainty that surrounds Steve Kerr. Does Mike Dunleavy not like Steve Kerr? Like, what is this about? Or is Steve Kerr just done coaching? Like, why has it always just been a foregone conclusion that Steve Kerr was going to have an expiration date this offseason, especially if they didn't win? Was this organizational? Was this Mike Dunleavy? Was this Steve Kerr? Because Steve Kerr has led Golden State to 4 NBA championships since taking over Mark Jackson, when you start reading into what Mark Jackson did and the stuff he said, it's wild. But in 2014, Steve Kerr came in and they started winning, baby. And his contract expires after the season ends. And despite all the uncertainty, expect General Manager Mike Dunleavy to explore every option to improve the roster. He will leave no stone unturned. The Warriors traded for Butler last February when they stood 25-25. And by the way, one thing I'll give Mike Dunleavy his flowers is, unlike Bob Myers, Bob Myers would make trades more like trades on the margins during their championship runs and get like role players or guys who were going to get bought out and then they would pick them up. Mike Dunleavy has been proactive and has basically understood what the mission is and what needs to be done. So I give him credit for not being complacent and trying to get Curry another title. And he said, we're willing to do whatever it takes to improve this team, whether young players, first round picks. We always have been, we always will be, as long as we're in the win now window. And the Warriors hold the 11th pick in the draft lottery. That could change, that could go up or down. And it definitely is going to be interesting to see, because they're saying this lottery is going to have the institution of whatever draft tanking, I guess, disincentivizing, flattening of odds, I bet. I don't know. All the ideas they floated for that is terrible. So they can also trade 3 additional first rounders. They're 2028, they're 2030 if it's 1 through 20, and they're 2032. They can swap firsts in all 7 years as well. A challenge in Golden State's roster reconstruction. They cannot easily cobble together enough salary for a guy on a major contract. For example, Giannis, or even Domantas Sabonis. And if they were to do that, they'd be losing a lot of their depth, and they would be hard capped to the apron and lose flexibility. So, with that all being said, what is the salary cap for this team looking like? I think it's one that a lot of people would agree is challenging, but it's not terrible, especially when you have Curry and Butler on the deals that they are. And that's why if you can get Draymond Green to be a team player, I think that can really be maybe a sort of game changer for you, because freeing up that cap space would be huge. And if you can sell the idea that he's leaving money on the table to win another championship, I think Draymond would do it. Outside of Curry and Butler, Green's $27.7 million would go very far. And Curry, Butler, and Green account for 79% of the Warriors' payroll next season. That leaves 6 players: Moses Moody, B-Pod, Key Santos, Al Horford, Will Richard, and DeAnthony Milton, earning each less than $13 million. Green, Horford, and Milton all hold player options and cannot be traded unless they opt in. I think the ones that are likely to pick it up, Horford, Green are the most likely. Milton, if his agent tells him he can get a bigger contract, either a 1-year deal of $4 million or a multi-year deal, I think he's going to stay. It seems like they have a really good relationship, and he likes being a part of the Golden State organization. So I don't blame him. Now, the rest of the roster, there's still young guys. Like, for the first time since 2019-20, they're going to be below the tax, which is huge. So again, this furthers my point. I know somebody's going to be like, well, they're below the tax. Like, doesn't that mean like there's no reason to have Draymond not opt in? Well, if he doesn't opt in and they can sign him to like a 2-year, $30 million deal, and this would allow them to have significantly more money to bring players in. This team, if you include the 3 guys with player options picking up their options and the 2026 first round pick, the Warriors sit $14.5 million under the tax, $22 million below the first apron, and $35 million under the second apron. As I said, $27 million, you tell them, hey, sign a 2-year deal, $30 million fully guaranteed. You make the same amount of money just over 2 years, because you would have just had an expiring deal, Draymond. And we go from having $14.5 million under the tax to going to like $28 million under the tax. And maybe you can sign 2 or 3 guys who are worth $7 to $10 million on 1-year deals or on multi-year deals. Due to the first apron hard cap, the Golden State Warriors likely cannot use the $15 million non-taxpayer mid-level exception and stay under once they fill out the roster, unless Draymond does a deal sort of like what I alluded to. We all know what they're trying to do here, and that is build the championship contender around a 38-year-old franchise player in Curry. But can Golden State take this win-now approach while also building for when Curry, Butler, and Green are gone? No, that's why they gave up on the 2 timelines. They don't care to balance this. And I think Kerr, if you let him walk out the door, I think that's, you can't do that. If you're going to try to go for a championship, as long as you're going all in with this team, you need to make sure that Kerr is here with this team. I don't think Kerr wants to be here for a rebuild or a retooling. So just have it set up as 1-year deals. That he's here till you guys win a championship or Curry retires. And Curry, he can sign a 2-year, $137 million extension. That new deal would pay him the highest per year salary of his career, $65.7 million and $71 million for his age 39 and 40 season. And I think that's going to be his last contract. And other than breaking his left hand in 2019 to 20 and missing 58 games, Curry had never had a significant injury since the ankles that cost him more than 12 games since entering the prime. And this year it was the right knee one. So I do wonder what's going to happen. And B-Pod, he'll be extension eligible. He averaged 17 points, 6.5 rebounds, 4 assists to close out the season. He was a really good defender. He actually was tied for second in charges drawn. They'll extend him. Kristaps Porzingis until June 30th can get a max 3-year, 116. Draymond 2-year, 75. Steph Curry, we already mentioned. Moses Moody can sign a max on October 1st of 3 years, 67. So besides just adding some wing depth, like at the swingman depth, shooting, some athleticism, they've needed this since Sean Livingston left, and that is a point guard. Get a backup point guard, for crying out loud. Why have you guys not been able to have a backup point guard for what feels like forever? By the way, this video has gone on for so long, so I'm done. Ciao.